Hello and welcome. Today we'll discuss the 6 themes of history and their relations to the Roman Empire. Let's start with the definition of each theme. First is the human-environment interaction and how a person is a product of their own environment. Second is the rise of civilizations and how a civilization can be built by united people. Third is the growth and changes in societies and how gender roles are historically documented. Fourth is the government and how civilizations are affected by government types. Fifth is the belief systems and how many gods and goddesses can be believed in yet practiced differently. Finally, the interconnectedness of societies and how different cultures within the Roman Empire connected. Let's take a closer look at the human-environment interaction in the Roman Empire. While rich Romans had a lifestyle that was supported by their environment because people elected those rich people as rulers, poor Romans on the other hand, lived in dangerous streets where they can only eat what their little income can buy. Rich Romans had a wealthy environment that provided healthy food, fancy houses, private cooks, and a good lifestyle. Poor Romans were not educated and were born into hard work and slavery. Now let's take a look at the rise of civilizations during the Roman Empire. Rome became the most powerful state in the world by having military power, political education, and economic success. The Roman Empire changed the Mediterranean world and also changed Rome itself. The Romans also developed their civilization and spread it through trade routes. The Roman civilization influenced life as we know it today because they simply expanded their empire and developed sciences as part of their civilization. The Roman civilization lived on for centuries because the Romans were united on building a great empire that would develop their country and people. Moving on to the growth and changes in the societies of Rome. Women in ancient Rome did not get an education. Their roles were to care for the children and manage the house. Boys went to schools and received military training as well as a well-rounded education. Another theme of history is the government branch. Let's see how this affected the Roman Empire. Ancient Rome taught the world the true meaning of democracy. As people gathered and voted for laws, orders, and kings, today we take that example and try to follow it in bigger nations. Today we also practice monarchy like the Romans as well. In England, Queen Elizabeth and her family are a perfect example of absolute monarchy. Romans also taught us not to elect the richest people because they will never feel for the poor. An oligarchy is always a bad idea and will always result in a revolution. Romans also taught us that a cruel king is not a leader and that harsh laws will not grant a tyrant his position for long. Now let's talk about the belief systems during the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire was a polytheistic civilization, which meant that people believed in and worshipped multiple gods and goddesses. Today in the 21st century, countries like India and China follow a polytheistic belief system in which people can worship many gods. The Romans' religious beliefs were applicable to both men and women. Rich and poor people also practiced and worshipped in churches. Moving on to the interconnectedness of societies. The Roman Empire expanded to involve many cultures. The Etruscans and the Latin interconnected with the Romans. The Latin language is the base of the Roman language. Also, the Etruscans affected the building and sewer system in the Roman Empire. The Greeks also affected the city style and all communities and cultures were existing in one society. Just like in the US where different ethnic groups coexist together, Romans accepted all cultures. Today we can see how Romans expanded their empire and had an interconnected society, and how in the 21st century we can learn from the Romans to have a cohesive community. In conclusion, the ancient Romans left great ideas and sciences for the modern world. This legacy included systems of laws and government, architecture, literature, and language which are just a few key concepts for the modern world brought to us by the ancient Romans.